As We Heal is a space for open conversation, personal stories, and diverse perspectives. The experiences shared in this episode are unique to each individual and may not reflect the experiences of others. Nothing discussed should be taken as professional advice. Please consult an appropriate professional for support relating to your own health, well-being, or circumstances.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of As We Heal. Today's guest is someone whose work sits at the intersection of healing, grief, and the unseen. Kathleen Ives is an intuitive guide, spiritual medium, transformation coach, death doula, and the author of 7 Ways to Live in Joy Today. Through her work, she has helped people navigate loss, reconnect with their intuition, and find comfort through messages from loved ones who have passed. So Kathleen, thank you so much for being here. I am so pumped to talk to you and really excited to deep dive into all the questions that I have.
Oh my gosh, me too. I love when somebody just feels so aligned and I'm like, yeah, let's talk about it. Let's open up the book. Let's see what's up. So I'm so excited to be here and thank you for having me.
Thank you. For the last few weeks, I have been going onto Instagram, and the moment I click on my explore page, you come up. You were coming up so much. And again, it's that alignment. And I am so grateful to the universe that as soon as I messaged you, you saw my message and you responded. I was really excited because everything you talk about are the things that I question. And like we were speaking earlier, I have a million questions constantly in my head. And so I'm excited to dive into them. But before we get into mediumship and what that's all about, I'd love to know, who was Kathleen before all of this? And if we met you like 10 years ago, who would we have seen?
Oh gosh, she was really finding herself. I think she got lost for a long time. I met my first real partner relationship when I was 19. And so I kind of had this abilities my whole life, but I didn't dive into what it was. I didn't dive into what it meant. I didn't dive into what could this possibly be for my future. And for a long time, I shut them off. I was in, a very long-term relationship, 10 years. And so for really my formative years of my 20s, I was in a relationship and I was trying to sort of fit in. I moved to Denver. Colorado's very like jam bands and people are really active and rock climbing. And I'm like, that's not really my thing, but I really wanted to be that person for all my friends and partner and everybody there. So I really conformed for a long time. I think even when I was younger, I grew up in Catholic school. I really tried to fit in and be like the preppy girl. And it's like so many times I tried to assimilate. It took me further back from who I was and my soul path. And so I think had you met me 10 years ago, you'd be like, huh? I had blue hair that was like to here, every color of the rainbow. I was going to fish shows and like things I would never do now. But it was a really beautiful time. I had to sort of try on all these different lives in order to realize that that wasn't my life and have the confidence to be okay with that. So it's been quite the journey. I'd say when I was young, I always watched 13 Going on 30, and I wanted to be Jenna Rink. I wanted the big girl marketing magazine job or like the beauty industry or something. And I got it. And I thought that was going to make me happy. And I was going to climb this corporate ladder and have all these things. And that would mean success to me because my whole life, even my parents, they're like, go to college, have a 401k, do this, do that. It's like a very safe path. And so once I, was working in the beauty industry and got my dream job and was a marketing director and all these things, I was like, why is this not doing the thing? Why is this not fulfilling me? Why am I not happy like I thought I was going to be? And that really pushed me to make changes in my life. And I've always I think of it as like a jet ski. If you're going jet skiing and when you turn with the jet ski, you don't fall. But if you lean the other way because you're scared, you tip over. So I've always been trying to lean with the jet ski. And as I do that, it led me here, and I just keep saying yes. And that is, yeah, that's what's got me to where I am now.
It sounds like from of course, we always have these guides and our intuition, and it sounds like somewhat you were always listening.
Yes, yes. And I, even if I put the earmuffs on and I was like, I hear you, but I don't want to do that, it was always there. And I
It was always
knew,
there.
I always knew. I mean, even in my relationship, I knew that there was something like this felt not clicking, like it's not flowing the way it should. Something felt off. And for years, I would explain it away. And we get in our human brains and we're like, well, people would be so grateful for what you have and it's not that bad and everything's fine. Why is fine good enough? Like we deserve to have more than fine if that's what we want. And
Yeah.
so that was the first lesson of like the minute you truly listen, even if it's not what you think you want, it's going to give you what you need. And through the pain and the journey on the other side of that, it's blessings. And so I think we don't often see the other side, so we get scared to
Yeah.
walk through the tunnel.
And from navigating, and I had a similar shift where I also thought this high life of this corporate life that I fell into too, where I was, locking into work in an incredible firm in London, and I'd be commuting in, and I remember like being like, oh yeah, this is it, and this is what I wanted. And then I was settling into it and I was like, oh, maybe not. And I felt so blessed by the universe because I got to meet this mentor who, when I interviewed, well, I didn't know she was interviewing me. She took me out for lunch and she asked me, what do you want to be doing? And I think I was about 19 at the time. I started working really early. I was homeless at one point when I was growing up. So then I started working. I dropped out of school to work, basically. And when I met her, I had already been traveling back and forth to New York for a corporate job that I had. And she had picked me up for some lunch. And then she was like, what do you want to be doing? And I said, well, I think I want to be helping women. And I think I want to be helping support women. And I did not know that I would be doing this in the future at all. But that's what came out my mouth. She still hired me. And she was that one person in my life who pushed me towards my goals. And she was like, I will hire you to work for me, but work on what you want to do too. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. So I had a similar thing. So what changed that direction for you then to go from, working that corporate career to then going into this?
Honestly, like many people, I kept feeling like this wasn't it. Like I too wanted to help women. I wanted to use my gifts. And I did actually start my business while I was still in corporate. And I was like, I'll just take some clients here and there, see how it goes. And I kept getting this pull of like, no, making PowerPoint decks and things is not, you need to be focusing more on this. And so, to be honest, I wasn't brave enough at the time to quit and be like, nope, I am getting rid of a 6-figure paycheck and benefits and all of these things. Like that took a lot. And so I didn't have the gumption to make that jump myself. But mentally, I was like, okay, I'm going to start living as somebody who is already working for themselves and already have all these things. And I would wake up and I would feel gratitude for my life and my ability to have my own schedule and all of these things. So I was sort of calling it in. And I stopped focusing on any negatives. So anything that I had going on in my job that was not fun or that I didn't like, I was like, I'm not going to focus this energy. I'm going to focus on what parts of it lit me up at one point. Or what can I focus on? And that was truly connecting with people. It was running my team. It was having my meetings where I could run them through some meditation on a Monday or something like that. That was my joy. So I'm like, where can I inject a little bit more of this into my day and a little bit less of the PowerPoints and the mundane things? So when I focused on that, I actually felt more joy in my job. And I knew it wasn't for me long term, but I was like, okay, if this is where I'm at right now and I can't just jump ship, like I have bills to pay, this is a good in between. This is a good bridge where I feel better. I feel lighter. I feel like something else is coming. And once I got to a point where I started to, instead of hating my life every morning, I was like, no, I'm looking forward to my morning meeting. I'm looking forward to this. Once I truly got there and let go of the, misery of it, I got a call in the middle of a meeting and they were like, we love you so much, but we're cutting marketing and like we're letting you go. And it was in the middle of the
Oh,
day.
wow.
And I was like, oh, okay. And at first I was a little shocked, but then I just got this wave of like I
Wow.
felt so good. I didn't cry. I didn't panic. I was like singing. I put music on. I was so happy. I think I went to like a sound bath or something. I drove to Malibu. I was like, I'm excited. I was
I
so
love
excited.
that.
And the universe truly did it for me at the right time because had I quit, it would have been a lot harder. I wouldn't have had a severance that got me many months. I wouldn't have had all of these things. They were like, you need to change your mindset first, and then we'll help you with the details. And that's what's so beautiful about following your intuition. It's not about, I have to jump ship and follow this path. And, sometimes if that's your calling, great, and things will work out. But for me, it's like, no, I had to mentally figure out a way to jump ship safely and get to a point where I was ready to accept any of these blessings. And then the universe completely set me up for it. Like between my severance and at the time, at the same time, which if I told a normal person, hey, I just got laid off, my apartment accidentally flooded from another
Oh
neighbor,
my
there's
gosh.
construction everywhere, it would
Yeah.
sound like, are you hexed or like, how is this all happening? And
Yeah.
I was like, no, this is all a blessing because I have a severance. I'm not scrambling. I also wasn't paying rent because they were fixing my place. And I'm like, all of this is happening for me. Like, I
Yeah.
just had to wait and get in that mindset. And now I'm accepting the blessings and seeing them as blessings. And so
Yes.
that was truly the turning point of like, you can say as many affirmations and things as you want. Your brain still needs the proof, the belief. And so your brain is always searching for proof. So I'll say my affirmations until I'm blue in the face, but then my brain goes, let's go find proof. So the
Yeah.
affirmations is just the first step. That's not like the magic. The magic is when you start to look for proof. So now
Yes.
my brain had proof of, okay, you're going to be taken care of. You listen to your intuition, things happen, blessings happen, things fall into line the right way. So then
Yeah.
my brain's like, okay, now next time it appears everything's, a shit show around you, actually some blessings are coming. Like just
Yeah.
wait. So
Yeah.
that's kind of it's a beautiful pattern recognition.
Yeah, that makes so much sense, and I think it's always in the, it's always after it's happened, then you look back at it and you're like, wow, it makes sense. It's like there's a
Yeah,
timeline created for you.
absolutely.
Yeah, and the amount of times, even for me personally, where I have been going through something and it is that looking for those silver linings, even when you don't know where to look for them, but really focusing, trying to find that silver lining. And you're right, you will search for them. I remember in times where I don't know what to, create, or I don't know what to be grateful for. I would be driving, and I could just say, oh, I'm just so grateful that, I found a parking spot earlier. And then I know that literally the next time I try and park up, there's a parking spot there for
That's
me.
probably fun. Yep,
Yeah. And
absolutely.
I love those moments.
Me too. And it's also that doesn't bypass, the pain or the shock or the maybe sadness, the grieving that version of me. I still had to do that. I still had to realize the little girl that wanted the big girl job and to work in corporate and all that. Like that is also something I had to grieve, and that's okay. But I realized, okay, the next version of me that's ushered in, like let's let go. Let's step into her, Let's not hold on to this version of me just because she served me at one point.
Yeah. And when did you first start having these moments where you felt as though you were receiving guidance or hearing guidance and actually being like, actually, this is a communication?
Yeah, I honestly, I was an only child and my parents were much older than me. So I had a lot of time to sort of live in my own world and have this like imagination and play. And I remember even when I was little, I would have moments, like one time I got lost. This is interesting. This is coming to me, but one time I got lost in SeaWorld, which is like a, I don't know,
Yeah.
ocean theme park. And I just remember of like not a voice in a way of I'm hearing something. It's like a clairaudience voice where it almost comes as a thought into my head. And this is how I also hear spirit. When I say I heard this, I heard them say this, it comes as like a thought, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
it's not a literal hearing. And I remember hearing like, okay, just go sit on this specific fountain. Like just sit at this fountain. So I walked over to the fountain and I just sat. And eventually, some nice woman came up to me and she was like, "Are you lost?" And I was like, "I think so." And she immediately like called someone, and then my parents ran over and they were like, "Oh my God." But I just remember following that little voice, like, okay, go to this specific fountain because then I found somebody's going to come up to you and somebody's going to help you. And then I started doing that even as I got older. As a teenager, I was exploring and things. And, we'd go to Detroit a lot and to some grimy clubs and concerts we probably weren't supposed to be in. And I would always have that little voice being like, okay, don't go down this alley, turn left this way, park over here, don't park over here. And it's like, it doesn't feel like it's my voice telling me what to do, but it's like just a guide, a little GPS. And so, and when I don't listen to it, I notice and I see the effects of that as well. So, even in my relationship, when I knew in my intuition, I was like, this isn't the long-term play. I would ignore it. I would actively ignore it and try to explain it away. And I knew what that felt like too. So not only did I know what feeling my intuition and going towards it felt like, I also, I actually encourage sometimes, not with maybe huge life-changing things, but with little, smaller things, smaller than what I had, maybe practice ignoring it sometimes and seeing what that feels like in your body. So that, hey, when I do ignore it, like this, and this happens, this is how I feel, this is like the different things that happen, because that's
Yeah.
also good data. So it's, I wouldn't do it with like a major life change thing, but, little decisions, be like, okay, if I go the other way, what happens? And I've done that before too, where I'll hear like, turn right, and I don't, and then I'll go a different path and there's like a crash or a ton of traffic or something. Like it's just the little things where it's like, yeah, I should have listened.
Yeah.
I should have gone that way. So, and that just, further helps you to listen and trust that.
Yeah, it like builds the confirmation and exactly like the faith. I'm a fellow
Yeah.
only child as well, so everything you were saying,
Oh, amazing.
yeah, I relate. I lived in my imagination too.
Oh, yeah.
So
I could create worlds.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I would spend so much time like doing anything. I would be in the shower thinking I'm making like potions and things like that out
Oh,
of
my
like
God.
random stuff. And I remember always just loving bugs and garden and like stones. And so I went through this phase, and one of our neighbors where I was living had like these blue rocks in their garden. And I basically went through this phase thinking that I owned all of these rocks, and then I took a bunch, and then I would post them to everyone's house, being like, one for you, one for you. But it's that time with yourself. It's priceless.
It put a lot of whimsy in my life that I still
Yeah.
have and that I love, and I'll never change that. The shower too. I don't know what your sign is, but I'm a Scorpio, double
Okay.
Scorpio, and so there's a
Okay.
lot of water in my life. And whenever I'm in the shower, I always get downloads. I always get things happening. It's part of my spiritual hygiene. And I remember when I was little, I'd always sit in the shower. I would like act out screenplays. Like I would
Me
make them
too.
up in my head. Yeah.
I still do.
I do too sometimes. And I'm just like, I'll be like all the way through a monologue and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, where's my
Yeah.
conditioner? It's so
I,
funny.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. Like I would do that in the shower. Showers were really creative for me, and also now that I'm an adult, I didn't cook like that when I was younger, but I would act like I was cooking. But when I cook, I'm like in this flow where I'm
Oh, yeah.
like getting content creation ideas. I'm getting like, what am I going to say in this? What am I going to do
Mhm.
here? Like when I'm cooking.
It's so
Um,
creative. It's a beautiful creative outlet, and you're
yeah,
creating for nourishment, which is, I
yes,
feel like, such a perfect intertwining of those things.
yeah. And I'm a Gemini, Taurus, Virgo.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so what am I? I'm air, and earth.
Earth, yes.
Yes,
Virgo's Earth.
yes. So, what was it like when you first told your family and friends about you being clairaudient, or did they already know? What was that like, and yeah, how did that play out?
So, my friends, shockingly enough, not shocking, I guess, at all, I was always drawn to very intuitive women.
Mm-hmm.
So, it really wasn't even a conversation, really. They were just kind of like, oh, yeah, this makes sense. She's doing this now because she's kind of always had these things. And a lot
Yeah.
of them also have gifts like that in many different ways. A lot of my close friends are Reiki practitioners and female coaches and all of these things. So or something in the arts, something very creative and intuitive. So it was never a shock to any of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think my parents were probably the biggest hurdle. To be honest, my father, he's had dementia for about 10 years now. So I have been in this sort of anticipatory grief phase for a third of my life, if not longer. And I never had like a conversation with him where I'm like, hey, I talk to dead people now and help people all over the world. Like, it wasn't like that. But I will say one of the most fascinating things is he kind of has no filter for like human bullshit anymore. He's in his own world, or he's like, if you're talking to him about like the weather or small talk, he'll literally get up and like walk away if he's bored. So he's truly just like such a pure spirit soul right now. And the one thing that will just bring him back in so many ways is when I talk about what I do. And it doesn't mean
Wow.
like, oh, you're my daughter and you were born this. It's not that kind of remembering. It's like he's locked in and he understands. It's the most beautiful thing. I'll be FaceTiming him, and he could be saying something in some other language that like just whatever words come out. But then if I'm like, hey, I'm building a course and I wrote a book and all these things and I'm helping women, and he just like shifts and locks in, and like his eyes change, they like light up. It's the most beautiful thing. And he'll just be like, you're helping so many people, and like he'll make so much sense. And so it's like his soul recognizes what my soul is doing,
Yep.
and it's the most beautiful confirmation because I know he's not just gassing me up because I'm his daughter. Like it's
Yes.
truly from a place of soul recognition. So that has been really beautiful. And that's coming from, he was a scientist and a biologist. So like even though he has serious abilities that he just didn't even recognize, he recognizes them in me. And then my mother was always super skeptic, super like, if it's not in front of my face, I don't know if it exists. And I think the process of me going through this, plus the process of us going through this with my dad, has really opened her up a lot more in the last few years. And I mean, I like to share things with her that have happened, stories and symbols. And I think I used to share in hopes of like, believe me, be proud of me. And now it's not coming from that place. I don't seek validation from her. I just want to help her open her own mind and expansiveness. And it feels so good to share those things and have her be so fascinated and curious and spark her curiosity. And now she's really at a point where she's like, wow, you like what you're doing is really special. And that it means a lot. It means more that I am coming from a place that I wasn't seeking it when I got it. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, that
That's
was,
beautiful.
yeah, it's been pretty, I've been very lucky. I wasn't, turned away or shunned, even if it's not fully understood by, my family or anything. I mean, none of my jobs have been understood. Like I'll go home for Christmas, and even when I was an influencer manager and a social media manager, they're like, what do? You post on Instagram? Like, I
Yeah.
don't, so I'm used to being misunderstood.
Yeah, yeah, I hear that. But that's truly beautiful. I love that. I love that you've been able to share your experiences through this and help open that up for your mum, and then also be able to connect with your dad, it sounds like, in a really
Oh,
deep way.
yeah, it's been with his sort of human shell off. It's been such a magnificent journey. I can't even explain the gratitude I have. And it's very rare that you see people talking about Alzheimer's and dementia in any positive light. And so I feel like, it doesn't diminish the really hard days, the really
Definitely.
traumatic things that have happened, and the times that I really have to separate that, like, he's struggling with this right now and it doesn't have to do with me. We've had some really horrible times, but that doesn't also take away from the beautiful times and the things I've learned and how I see I almost don't even see it as a disease. I see it as a condition that's helping their soul create sort of a path or a map to eventually transition over to the other side. And it's a process. That's very interesting. And I come from a place of curiosity more than a place of like victimhood, you know?
Yes, yes, I understand that. And do you feel as though your mediumship and the work that you do now really helps you with that? I'm assuming really helps you with that
Oh yeah,
perspective.
for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, and I just seeing that I don't have a fear of death anymore. I don't have a fear, I'm not trying to have my time up tomorrow, but like when I do pass, whenever that is, I'm stoked. Like I'm like waiting. The party's gonna happen. Like there's gonna be a beautiful transition, and going back to the other side, being back in my light body. Like I have a lot to do on this planet, and I'm very excited to do it. And I'm not looking forward to it in that way. But when it happens, I'm like, whew, I get to
Yeah.
take off my bra at the end of my workday, like that kind of feeling. So I really have that has helped me a lot. And so even knowing that I will be able to connect to him and I will have him around me all the time and everything I've learned from the dead, I will be able to integrate that with my own father, and it makes it
Yes.
much more palatable.
Yes, 100%. And diving into mediumship, what does that actually feel like? And a question that I've always had is, what is the difference between mediums and psychics?
That's a really good question. And I think that is, some people will argue that it's not subjective. I tend to believe language should not be a barrier to action or belief. So if somebody wants to be like, I'm a psychic, but they do mediumship, as long as you're helping people, I don't care what you call yourself. But from a literal perspective, I've had mentors and coaches that have taught me psychic is, you can think of it more as perceiving information. So, really being in touch and in tune to timelines and things that might happen, and a lot of perceiving. And mediumship truly is more of a receiving. So,
Receiving,
instead of
okay.
me using my intuition to get little facts and things and sort of figure out a path for somebody, it's in true mediumship, it is, you are just a vessel, and any messages, visuals, things coming through are just completely, you have no idea where, like how what's going to come through. And so
Right.
every medium is psychic, not every psychic is a medium. And
Okay, yes.
so that's how I feel. A lot of psychics also focus on future things, and I personally don't love resonating with giving people, hey, this is going to happen, because first of all, nobody can tell you an absolute of something going to happen. I also, when we see possible futures and timelines, that completely doesn't factor in. We all have free will. I could wake up tomorrow and be like, I'm going to move to Bali and become a yoga teacher. That mean, if you read me today, that might not be something you see, but I have that free will. And so
Yep.
I also think our thoughts are so important, and our thoughts create our matter and create our lives and our realities. So sometimes when I've had a lot of friends that have gone to psychics where they're like, oh, you're getting divorced in a month, or this is going to happen, or you have this happening. It's like, unless it's something that is going to help them, I tend to not share things like that, because I don't want to scare you into living your life. B, these things can change. It's not written in stone. And when you plant a seed in someone's mind, that can actually start to manifest, and their brain will start to find proof that that's going to happen. And so if you're like, okay, you're gonna get this disease in 6 months, or you're gonna get divorced, or you might be planting that in someone's head, and then their brain is gonna start to find proof of that and actually make it happen, because
Yeah.
that is like so deeply in their brain. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of ethics around mediumship and psychicness that I really take seriously. And I if it's going to help someone heal, help someone grieve, help them on their path, that is the information I ask for from spirit. So I don't do like, like love spells and when am
Yes.
I gonna meet my husband, and like that. Like the whole point of being alive is kind of flowing with the journey, and that's part of it, and listening to yourself. So
Yeah.
I really like to give people tools to find their own answers, not give them all the answers.
That's why I think I really resonated with your page as well, because there's this authenticity to being able to give advice to people that actually allows them to see their own journey within it. And it's really easy to share things on social media and almost put a veil over them and be like, well, this is the direction I want you to think in. Whereas when I see your content, it's like, oh, okay, you've spoken about something, whether that be, how you receive messages from the other side, and then I can put it into play with what I experience.
Yeah.
So it gives me the freedom of having my own experience, which is another reason why I really resonated with your page.
Thank you.
No worries. And I'm really intrigued. So your book is called 7 Ways to Live in Joy Today.
Yes.
And you spend
her
so
right.
much. Oh, it's beautiful. Gorgeous.
Thank you. It's like an aura. That's how I
Yeah.
thought of it. It's like
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah, it definitely, that's exactly what it's giving. And
Yeah.
you spend so much time in life, helping others navigate grief and death. So where for you in the book does then joy come into play?
The coolest thing I've learned, and honestly why I wrote the book, is because it's not a linear journey of grief to joy. It's literally a journey of grief and joy happening in the exact same moment. It's allowing yourself joy even when you're grieving. It's allowing grief to come through even when you're having the time of your life. There's no separateness. There's no, I have to do this before I can have that. There's no earning joy. I think we often feel guilty. And I remember this when my best friend passed away in 2024. I think 2 or 3 days later, I went out dancing, and I immediately felt a guilt of like, how can I be enjoying my life right now when she's not here? She can't do this, and I knew that she was all around me, but it was that humanness of why am I feeling joy if they can't? Which is silly because they're feeling joy all the time. And I truly realized, no, they absolutely want us to continue living. They don't like when we grieve. I mean, as humans, we grieve because that's what we feel. We gain wisdom. Our souls gain wisdom from that experience. But they're not like, oh, please grieve longer. Like the amount you grieve should not equal the amount of love you had for them, And I truly believe the emotions of love, joy, gratitude, those are very high frequency emotions. And so from sort of a, quantum physics perspective, if spirit is vibrating super, super high, like 20 frequency, and joy and gratitude and love are like at a 10 for, human 3D world, and grief and sadness and anger and all of these things are like a 2 or a 3, we're actually closer to spirit and closer to our loved ones and able to feel them even more when we're having joy and love and gratitude and all of those things. And so that doesn't mean we should ignore our feelings. We should absolutely feel the sadness, feel the grief, but just, your energy goes where your focus is. And if you're constantly focusing on those emotions instead of allowing yourself to also have joy and love and gratitude, then that's where your frequency is going to stay, and it's going to feel more lonely, and it's going to feel harder. And it's okay to have both at the same time. I've had so many times where I'm so grateful for something and I'm having so much fun, and then I'll get a wave of not even sadness, but like awareness that, okay, I wish she was here. I wish she was here with me to see this. And then I would realize, girl, you know she's here with you. And then she'll send me a sign that she's there. And then I'm crying because I'm happy because she's with me. And it's like two things can be true at the same time.
And how do you ask for these signs, and what do you look for?
Ooh, okay. This is a good one, and everyone can do this. So first of all, besides your loved ones on the other side, people often confuse these, and you can call them whatever you want. Like I said, whatever feels good to you. But to me, and what I've learned, spirit guides are actually assigned to you at birth. And they have been with you through many lifetimes, and they are your sort of guardian angels. And their whole entire job is to help you stay on your best path, your highest path, your most abundant, most divine path. And so you can call upon them for help, because so many people go through their lives, their entire lives, they don't even know that they have spirit guides. They don't know that they can call upon them. Are they going to protect you from every single trauma in your life? Of course not. You have to go through things, but they will help you in so many ways, get clarity, get guidance, get signs, even parking spots. And so first, establishing a relationship with my guides has really helped with signs, because when I didn't have a lot of people on the other side, I still wanted signs that I'm like doing the right thing and going the right. And so I would ask my guides. And then now with loved ones on the other side, they can communicate in that same way. So what I like to do, they're also learning. That's another thing that I think people have a misconception of. Once you pass to the other side, you're this all-knowing, almighty angel that has full consciousness in it. You're still a soul that's learning. So you are learning to be in your light body again and assimilate, and learning how to communicate back with the 3D. It's like, it's almost like riding a bike. Like, it'll come back to you, but sometimes it does take a bit. And that's why I often don't suggest readings right away. Like if somebody just passes, I like to wait a few weeks for their soul to kind of reintegrate. And to us, a few weeks, it might be moments to them. It's not necessarily linear time, but it gives you a little more time too. But anyways, for signs. So there's a few ways you can do this. I love, especially for beginners, you can connect to your guides or to a loved one on the other side. And you can say, okay, I really want to know you're around me. Please show me a sign that you are around me that I can ask for. So you can actually ask them to show you something first, because often people will just be like, send me a sign. And then there's nothing specific. And then they get something and they're like, okay, but I don't know if that's the sign. So like, ask for something specific, and then the first thing that pops into your head, it doesn't matter what it is. It can be your AirPods, it can be an apple, it can be a banana, it can be a ladybug, whatever it is, something super specific. Whatever pops into your head, be like, okay, show me this sign and I'll know you're with me. And then the hardest part, set it and forget it. Don't go about your whole day looking for the ladybugs. Don't drive to a park and sit in the grass just to be closer to ladybugs. Like, live your life. And you almost get to the point where you forget that you asked for the sign. And it can be a little disappointing, because you're like, oh, well, I think the longest I've gone is over 6 weeks, where I was like, well, guess I'm not getting my sign. And I just accepted that I should trust myself and I'm not going to let it sway me. And literally after I let go of that, I got the craziest sign that I had asked for, like within a couple days. And I was like, you guys made me believe in myself and made me trust myself, and then you gave me the sign. But truly, I mean, I've had signs happen within an hour. Like, I've had signs happen within minutes. It all depends, but they will usually always send your sign. And sometimes you also have to recognize it, and that's on you, and accept that and have gratitude for that. But asking for something specific is always really helpful, because then you're like, whoa. And and then you get it and you're like, but I want a signier sign. Like, the more you can accept and hold gratitude for them, the more you will get and the more you'll be open to and the more they'll help you and have that proof. And then after time goes on, you can come up with a sign and be like, okay, show me this, or sometimes I will just be like, send me a sign. But usually I like asking for something specific, and
Yeah.
they will often put that thought into your brain of the apple or the ladybug or whatever, because they can see in the very near foreseeable future, you will probably be in the path of somewhere they can deliver that very easily. So that has worked really well for me and a lot of clients. And I actually just had someone message me recently. She saw my video about asking for signs, and she had never heard it asked that way. So she asked her mother, and she was like, okay, a blue M&M came up. And because she always called her blue M&M. And I was like, she was like, please send me a blue M&M and I'll know you're with me. She kind of went about her day, kind of forgot about it, got off Instagram, whatever. The next morning, she opens her phone to like Apple News or whatever. The first article that popped up was blue M&Ms, and and there was a huge photo of
Yeah.
like a ton of blue M&Ms, and it was something about blue M&Ms, and she was like, "Oh my God," and like sent me a screenshot, and she just felt so, well, she was like, wow, okay, my mom,
Wow.
she's there, she's doing it. And
Yeah.
then that gives you, the thing with the proof in our brain that our reticular activation system, and that
Yes.
is so beautiful. And now she's like, I feel so connected to her, and now I want to ask her for more signs. And it's just that knowing that they truly are around us, and they're able to, that's why people always talk about the flickering lights and things.
Yeah.
Since they are energy and they're just truly light energy,
Yes.
it's much easier for them to manipulate electrical type of objects. And now that we have our phones, I've gotten so many signs from Instagram or from something serving into my algorithm where I'm like, oh my God, this is the thing I asked for. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a really beautiful time to have so many options. I feel like back in the 1800s, it might be a little harder for them to send a sign, but now it's like they have so many electrical options. So it's
Yeah.
a really beautiful time.
Yeah, it truly is. And I think back then, I mean, were we even openly being able to talk about all this?
Exactly.
Probably not. And I think
No.
now the availability of talking about, yeah, different healing modalities and different ways to be able to connect, and whether that's
Yeah.
even connecting to each other or even to the other side, it's incredible.
It's a blessing. And I actually have, this has been a topic on my own mind because I think our souls, well, I know our souls have memory as well. And so through all my lives I've lived, and I've lived many, I haven't always been able to speak openly about these things. And I think my soul will manifest fears sometimes, not necessarily to fruition, but I'll have dreams and things like, okay, is it safe to be seen? Is it safe to and I think a lot of that is my soul remembering that, hey, in some other lives, you were probably burned at the stake or
Yeah.
executed, or, it's like, and really kind of reparenting my soul and being like, no, we're here now, we're protected, we do our energetic hygiene, it's safe to speak about this, it's helpful, it's helping the world wake up, and this is not, some crazy thing now, like more people, it's becoming normalized. But I think our bodies and our souls will sometimes hold us back from things out of a fear that isn't necessarily ours in this
Yep.
lifetime. And so, really being able to recognize that and work through that will get you to that next level of being able to put yourself out there.
Yeah, I agree. And this is something that because As We Heal is something that came to me last year, where I really wanted to sit down and I wanted to actually open up. And I had this moment where I was like, I want to talk about all these things that go on in my mind. I just don't know how. And
Mhm.
of course, I absolutely love my job. I love the career that I've created. I love supporting women on their journeys. However, I have niched myself down so particularly
Mhm.
that now speaking about this on my Instagram page, I felt really nervous as well. And I was
Mhm.
talking to a friend about it, and and she said to me, she said, I think you're having, you need to get over the fear of being seen too.
Yeah.
And more recently, I'm now sharing between the As We Heal page and my page, and I'm trying
Yeah.
to be open about who I really am, because that's then me being authentic with myself, and that means I'll then attract and connect with more people in the same space.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, so I completely hear you. I had a question, and I wanted to know, and you told me that when spirit talks to you, it comes to you as thoughts in your mind, which you then speak out. Would
Mhm.
you be willing to ask spirit a question on behalf of maybe everyone listening today?
Ooh, sure. I usually do. I tend to not do any live reads
Ah,
because I have such a specific ritual that goes into it,
okay.
and I open the space. I kind of push myself and my
Mm-hmm.
ego and my personality off to the
Mm-hmm.
side, and I
Mm-hmm.
sit in silence. And not everyone works this way. Um, but I found it's, when it's like an on the spot thing, I don't flow as well with that. But I
Yeah.
think if it's more of a collective
Yes.
message, let's try it. Why not?
Okay, I
Yeah.
have one question.
Okay.
Right now, in the space that we're in as a collective and humanity itself, what's the thing that we need to most hear?
The biggest sentence I keep getting in big, huge font is believe in your own power, and you have so much more power than you think you do.
I love
And
that.
that radiates to so many things and areas and aspects of your life, from the mother who's crying in the closet because she doesn't think she's a good mom and she doesn't know what to do and she's overstimulated, to the person who's in a career that they may not feel is for them and they're afraid to take the next step, to the person who's scared to even sit in front of the camera and speak, to
Mm-hmm.
the person who doesn't want to take a bunch of medications all the time but is afraid that their own knowledge of herbalism and stuff won't be enough, to all of these things. I'm getting, it's like we have constantly outsourced our power for centuries. And even I tend to say with AI, like, be very careful of how much you're outsourcing your power. I love AI, I use AI, but when I'm speaking to my audience and my community, I personally don't use AI. I just channel things and yap. I use it for many things, but I try to check in and say, okay, am I using this to expand on an idea that I already have, or am I trying to manufacture an idea from something outside of my power that I'm
Yeah.
listening to? And
Yeah.
so, all of these new technologies, all of these amazing things we have access to now, I think the biggest challenge is just to not outsource your power and know that you have so much more answers, ideas, and just especially answers to your own life and path inside of you than anyone else you could possibly try to get it from has. And that's one of the biggest things that keeps coming when I think of the collective. I see like a beautiful, golden, almost like a spider web, but like a beautiful sparkling spider web, and all this net. Like, I loved Harry Potter. It's almost like
Yeah.
when at the end when they do the wands and have this gorgeous sparkling thing over
Yeah.
Hogwarts. It's
Yeah.
kind of like that, but like this beautiful net. And I see all these people, and like some are very connected to it, some are under the net, but they're not connected. But we're all connected to each other, and so we can all help each other. And the ones that are very connected to the net can reach out and touch and help the other ones to connect theirs to the net. And it's like this beautiful, all knowing power that we all have. And I think we've long, long forgotten about it. And I think it's really imperative to even take small, small steps to reignite that power. Yeah,
That is
that's what I'm getting.
beautiful. Yeah, that's beautiful. And it reminds me of even just the sense of the essence of community
Yeah,
and speaking and connecting with each other. I love that so much. Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you so much for doing that as
of
well.
course.
I had that question in my mind earlier today because, you know, I've been seeing so many things crop up recently on social media as well. Once again, it makes me ask 1,000 questions, and I'm like, well, what is the universe trying to show us? And that this really helped. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. And I think it'll also mirror back to you, seeing that your audience really does resonate with all of this as well. So, like everyone who is going through especially every woman who is dealing with hormone issues, dealing with their energy, their body, any physical symptoms, it's like a lot of them, they're also waking up and understanding that, hey, I feel like, I'll know a date or I have a dream or my child this and I knew before. Like it's one and the same. I don't think you'll
Yeah.
find that it's such an out there thing. I think a lot of people in your community will be like, oh my gosh, thank you for sharing about this because this is how I feel. And I think that's also part of my whole like no white linen required type of thing is like, uh, I think a lot of people get intimidated by spiritual spaces where they feel like they have to fit into a certain mold of spirituality. And I really like to blow the lid off that and realize it's such a normal thing. It's not this you don't have to go on a retreat to be spiritual. It's really an internal power shift.
Right, exactly. And based on everything that you have experienced, and after looking into, death, what based on what you know happens after we die?
So, what I have seen time and time again, and this also aligns with if you ask a hospice nurse or somebody that works in the emergency room, it is not so far off. They see a lot of similar things. So, when someone is close to passing, people on the other side, their guides, their loved ones, they almost always come to get them. And so people will start to see, their sister, their mother, even my dad, he talks about his mother and father coming all the time. And so it's a very normal thing for them to see. And people are like, oh, they're just hallucinating. No, truly, I think of myself when I do a death doula-ship and I really help people across the transition. I think of myself as like a crossing guard, like, the kindergartners that they hold the hand, they have a little thing. It's like, okay, here, I'm going to help you across the street. And everything I've seen is that. I see a lot of boats, a lot of docks where they show me, okay, we're here, the ferry's here. And there's also different timelines and portals they've shown me where there is a possibility where, okay, a ferry's going to come at this time. And their soul has the choice a lot of, am I going to let
Wow.
go and get on this ferry, or am I going to hold on a little longer and see what happens and get the next ferry? So there's different openings of time where people can pass and choose not to, or choose to go on the boat. And this metaphysical boat is sort of this crossover to the other side. And so when they're on the other side, the first thing I see that happens is they go into a life review. And it's sort of like a football team. After a game, they'll go watch all the plays and be like, that tackle wasn't so great, but next time let's do it this way, and go through all the soul contracts and all that. And part of that, true wisdom is the ultimate currency of the soul. I think that is why we are here. That is why we're in this soul school. That's why we're trying to learn all of these things, because at the end of the day, we can't take our money, we can't take our clothes, we can take wisdom. That's the only thing we have. So when they do this life review, they get to experience every single thing that has happened, both to them and from them, and all of the ripple effects from a first person, second person, third person perspective, all kind of at once. And so this is different than when people say, okay, my life flashed before my eyes. That's almost like a beautiful goodbye to this current life we're in. And it's like a beautiful emotional experience. Whereas when you do your life review, it's truly learning. Like you're going over the curriculum, and they don't do it for punishment. They truly do it for learning. And obviously people have done good things, bad things. You experience all of that for that learning. And, if you were a terrible person and did really terrible things, you're going to experience that as well from every perspective. And that's so that you learn and think, okay, maybe next time I'm not going to do any of that. And so there's a form of learning that comes from that. And to us, it could be a day, a week, a month. On the other side, time is just, it's not linear at all. So it could feel like moments. It could feel like 10 years. It could feel, it's not, it's not how we think about it.
Yeah.
But after that life review, I've had so many people, clients, their loved ones on the other side come through and be like, I understand now. I understand now. There's so many, even I've had some really hard ones where someone has taken their own life or something. And there's such a deeply rooted understanding after this happens where they get to experience that from every perspective, and they finally, their
Wow.
soul finally understands like what they went through. And it's also an interesting translation because on the other side, they don't hold anger, guilt, fear. Those are human emotions. Those are dense emotions. That's why we can feel them in the 3D. They don't
Right.
have those emotions. So when people say like, oh, well, is somebody disappointed or mad at me? The answer is always no. They're never disappointed or mad, or they don't sit there and hold grudges. They are experiencing such beautiful vibrational energy that doesn't even exist. That doesn't mean they don't understand from an empathetic perspective that if they did something like taking their own life, what that effect had on all their loved ones around them. And they do have a lot of them apologize for that and understand it from that perspective, but they're not going around sad because they did something. It's just an understanding. And truly, every single life in this encyclopedia of lives we have is so short, and it's a learning, it's a lesson, and then you're back in your light body and you're like, oh, okay, that was an interesting round. Let's maybe we'll go
Yeah.
again, maybe we don't. Like, you have a lot more choice than we've been taught. That's one thing they've told me many times, is you have so much more choice than we think.
Wow, yeah. And it's something I've always been curious about. I am such a dog lover. I've grown up with dogs and animals my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
My I'm only child, but when I was younger, my parents did ask me once, do you want a sibling or do you want a dog? And I was like, I want a dog.
Yeah.
So I had my dog Phoebe growing up, and I lost her when I was about, I want to say maybe 15, 16 years old. And what happens? What happens to pets?
Okay, so pets are my favorite. There are just these beautiful, bright little souls. And most of the pets, well, all of the pets we have throughout our lifetimes, we have specific soul contracts with those pets. Like, they're going to come into our life at specific times for specific reasons. They're going to leave our life at certain times for specific reasons.
Yeah,
I've also seen, which is interesting,
yeah.
most pets sort of plan their own crossing over. So
Wow.
it alleviates a lot of trauma on the human to think, did I, put them down too early, or did I give them the medicine right? Or even if they got hit by a car or something really traumatic, everything is sort of as it was supposed to be, even as hard as it could be. And I've seen this so many times where pets are like, we already have the idea of what's going to happen. We just push you towards the right thing. Like, even in the horrible car example, perhaps the owner was not there on purpose because it was like, quick, don't want to see it, blah, blah, blah. Maybe a lesson came from that they'll realize in the future. And, it is hard to wrap your head around sometimes. The way spirit describes things can be very difficult for our hearts to accept. But with our own, my soul dog, Lily, that passed, and more recently, my partner's dog that was in my life, Gracie, our little angels, like, I really felt her nudging us towards, like, even the day that it happened. And we ended up giving her a best day ever. It went crazy viral. All these people are like, I want to give my dog a best day ever now. And we were on the news all over the world. And I was like, oh my God, Gracie, like, you are helping so many lives and so many other dogs now. And then when I see them on the other side, they give this, just this beautiful, sparkly energy, and they're always around you, and they're always, I like to keep a little, I call it the lighthouse, but it's like a little token that she can just easily find. And so I have one of her blankets and I have a little pillow that somebody got me when she passed. And so I kind of think of it as like, okay, you want to sit with me on the couch? I'm going to take the pillow, and they can find it without the pillow. But animals are so connected to spirit that they come through in so many ways. And people also, even when I have a client, if they have a pet, they will often like try to come in the room or sit in their lap, or they'll start barking or something when I'm reading them and spirit's coming through. So they are so tapped in, they know that. And
Wow.
I once had, so I wouldn't say I'm a pet medium, but I do have animals come through sometimes. And often like their loved ones on the other side will be with the pets, and their guides will have their pets. And so they're always in the same sort of soul family, and they stay and they wait for us too. Often I've seen it both ways. I've also seen a pet where they reincarnated while the person was still alive in another pet. And she was like, I'm telling you, I know I sound crazy, this is my dog. Like all the mannerisms, everything are exactly the same. He has the same spot on his ear. Like, and I was like, it's absolutely possible. Like, yes. And so, but often they will wait for us, and they'll send us other animal souls too, in the meantime, but they will be there like when you're about to cross over. So animals are such a beautiful energy to have, and you can ask them for signs too. And I even had, one time I had someone, I was like, look for little, like, you're going to find his kibble places. Like, even if he's been gone for a year and you've vacuumed and you've gotten your house professionally, like, you're going to find little kibbles. And he called me like 3 months later and he was like, oh my God, I keep finding kibbles everywhere. I have vacuumed this house so many times. I'm like, yeah, it's like they
Yeah.
let you know that they're still around.
Oh, that has made my day, because I was thinking about, so I've got my other dog, he's literally like, he's my first child. He's upstairs right now. His name's Gunner, and we got him 5 years ago. He's a staff. He is the sweetest. He is such a sweetheart. And then growing up, I had a dog called Phoebe. She was a white Westie. And then more recently, so I was in the house and my partner was in the house, and so my partner was in the house and he saw a ladybird just crawling around the house. However, he noticed that she was injured, so he didn't take her out. He was just like, let her be. And then I saw her a few days later and he didn't tell me this, and I was like, oh, she's injured. So I like took care of her. I got this little plate. I made her like a little sugar syrup water thing, and then I was feeding it to her. Then I got a bit emotionally invested. Because I was like, I'm not going to put her outside because then she's going to get eaten. So then I named her Lily, and then I got her like this little bug house. I would feed her aphids every single day, all of that, and she was doing really well. Like, she was crawling around. Unfortunately, I think this is turning into a little bit of a terrible story, actually. She was injured because when we found her in our house, she had been attacked by a wasp, and we didn't know this. And so there is this phenomenon called I don't know if it's a phenomenon, if that's the right word, but there's this thing called the zombie ladybird, where a specific type of wasp, it like lays its eggs in the ladybird, the parasite eats it from the inside out. Gosh, this is turning gory. So anyway, like zombified her, unfortunately, and then we basically tried to remove the eggs and see if there was any way of saving her, but we couldn't. So I left her outside, and I left her outside in our garden on a beautiful flower, and I was like there we go. However, I've been having dreams now. Like last night I had a dream, and it was a butterfly on my left hand, and then multiple caterpillars growing from my hand. It wasn't gory. I felt quite peaceful with it. Yeah. And then one of the caterpillars turned into a ladybird that looked just like Lily. And that brought me like a lot of relaxation. So I was like, well, hopefully she's good.
I feel like that was her telling you, you helped me go into my next form. So like the caterpillar, obviously it turns into a ladybug. So it wasn't about saving her. It was about showing her love, and she
Yeah.
felt that frequency
Oh,
from you. And so it was a thank you that she was able to transition into her next form, and you really helped her with that. So that's a
yeah.
beautiful
I hope
visitation.
so. I hope so. And thank you. I never thought of it like that, but that puts it nicely into my head about my dream.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful symbolism, and when we dream and we have those sort of visitations that feel very peaceful, those are always real. Whenever we have the dreams that are fear focused or from our ego, those are never from spirit. It's the ones that are really feel like, okay, I was with this person, or I'm sitting on a bench talking to them. Like that is them. They come to you, and it's beautiful. And it's funny because Lily was the name of my soul dog that passed.
Oh,
Hmm.
oh,
Love
beautiful.
Lily.
I love the name Lily.
Yeah.
um, now I want to thank you so much for your time. I have a few closing questions.
Of course.
So if someone listening lost somebody that they love yesterday and they feel completely broken, what's something that you would want them to know?
Mm. I think the biggest push from spirit and message and everything is just try to have your heart remain open and expand whatever your heart and your mind, what you think is possible. I just invite you to expand that a little further and feel your pain, feel your feelings, go through those. It's imperative that we feel them to heal them. So any anger, any sadness, it's all okay to feel. I highly encourage it, and move through those in safe ways where you can release it, whether you have to punch a pillow or cry in the shower, or all of those things are okay to do and healthy. And one thing I like to do when, especially when I'm really overwhelmed, especially after someone passes and you have a lot of anxiety, I just focus on my heart space. I do breath, I focus on my breath, I do a lot of breath work, and I focus on this space and I think about it from a heart coherence perspective, this beautiful electrical magnetic field we have around our heart. I visualize it glowing green, and I just keep it bigger and bigger. And with every breath, I just visualize that light going farther and farther away from my chest, into my whole space, into my whole house, into my whole city. And just focusing on that heart and that heart coherence will help you not only heal, it will help you connect your brain to your heart more. It will help you receive more signs from spirit. It will help you move through your life knowing they're around you and be able to feel it more. That heart is so important. So if you don't know where to turn and you're broken and you're lost, and if you can focus on one thing that will make you feel better and just give you something to focus on instead of everyone else, being like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. It's that heart coherence, that beautiful green light that you can breathe into and just kind of go into your own world, because it's doing something really, really good for your heart, your mind, your body, your soul, your cells, all of that. And sometimes even when we have nothing left, if that's just something you can focus on, even just the color, like that beautiful green color, that can give us a little bit of comfort.
Thank you, Kathleen. That is beautiful. And every single guest that comes on here leaves us with their own definition of healing. So, what does healing mean to you?
Ooh, um, healing to me is an ever spinning journey. I think of it as a marathon that you can walk or you can run parts of it. You can stop and get a drink of water, maybe get a bite to eat. And there is no finish line. It's just this beautiful experience. You get to see the pain, you get to see the beauty, you get to see all of it. There's no ending, there's no beginning. It's just that's life. It's this beautiful journey, and to just accept that is healing. Acceptance is such a beautiful part of all of it, knowing that the only constant in life is going to be change, and not
Wow.
resisting so much, and just really accepting those notions and knowing that, hey, this journey it's just part of the experience. It's going to be forever, and that's okay. And just accepting that and knowing that there's already so many blessings on the path as well. That to me is healing. Not knowing that there's an end in sight. It's not a trophy to win or a perfect line to walk. It's just this beautiful circle of a marathon that never ends.
Yes. Oh gosh. And I love what you said there. I'm going to replay that in my mind a few times too. And thank you so much for being here. And anyone listening, where can they find you? Where can they get in contact with you? How can they work with you?
Yes, I am everywhere. I am just, my socials are just my name, Kathleen Ives, and with a little underscore afterwards. And then Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, everywhere. And then my book, 7 Ways to Live and Joy Today, is available on Amazon and some bookstores as well, Barnes & Noble online. I'm also on Audible, and I have it on Spotify. So if you want to hear me talk more and listen to my voice read the book, that's been really helpful for a lot of people. And my website, KathleenIves.com, has all my offerings, and I also have a free meditation on there that has been helping a lot of people. So that's where I'm at.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. This is going to be incredible, and I cannot wait to share it with everyone. So thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
Yes, thank you for having me. This was amazing. I love this. I could do this every day.
I am glad. I have loved having you here.